This year's theme, The Gaze, aims to underscore that every cinematic work, whether it's a feature or whatever form it may be, represents a perspective filtered through the filmmaker's thoughtful eye. This year's curation embraces a kaleidoscope of gazes.
A doomed found family, resolving to stick together as they face a world at its end. Well, this is the shared premise of both Joshua Oppenheimer's sweeping apocalyptic musical, The End, and Wami Alcazaran's frenetic apocalyptic short film, Water Sports. The pictures they each paint of humanity brought to their knees cannot be more different. What does it look like for the upper echelons of Western society who have carved a safe space in the dark just for themselves? And what does it look like for the disenfranchised third world youth left out in the sweltering heat to fend for their survival? In the end, the rich family enclosed in their spacious doomsday bunker have no names. They are only referred to as mother, father, and son, until the girl arrives from the outside, triggering the cracks in their perfect facade to show. Particularly damning is the father, an energy tycoon writing a memoir that denies that he contributed to the downfall of humankind. The mother is likewise guilty about leaving behind family members in their escape. The son learns to accept these skeletons in his parents' closets. In water sports, Gelson, Ipe, and their friends in the swim team navigate a world devastated by climate change. The two boys at the center embody queer love, even though the iron will of machismo is deemed key to survival. Particularly amusing is their barkada's need to move, exercise, play, and dance in a harsh landscape totally dried up of water. Unserious, tender, and warm. Its characters resolve to stay true to themselves under the pressure of being deemed the hope of a non-existent future. While one is a melodramatic musical where the camera dwells extensively on the inner turmoil of a privileged family, each of them singing their hearts out center frame as they grapple with their demons in the polished yet discolored lavishness of their undeserved new life. The other is a vibrantly colored, fast-paced, fun tribute to love, where the cuts jump from one pop culture reference to the other, the sounds reflecting the youthfulness and energy of its characters, as they revel in the chaos of their circumstances. The smooth walls of the salt mine and the elaborate pieces of art with which the family adorns their home are unable to cover the cracks on their walls, revealing the rot within them, of being complicit in others' doom while they stay comfortable. Grandiose in its posturing, yet so full of sadness. Then, the vivid hyper-portrait of a Philippines burnt to a barren wasteland unveils the strength of scrappy high school-age boys, the systems around them crumbling to reveal a powerless shell that barely helps. It is too late, but they find ways to live, so anxious in energy, yet full of hope. The unnamed family have all the resources available to them to continue living luxuriously, except they must drown in the remorse of their survival, safe deep underground, but falling even deeper in denial of their guilt. While the boys, doomed to suffer the ravages of global warming, can do no more but hold hands and dance, not allowed to cry, exposed to the elements that will surely kill them, but swimming in the fleeting power of their love. In drastically different ways, Oppenheimer and Alcazaran paint these pictures to show us what might happen to humankind if nothing changes. What two opposite segments of society will face in a climate apocalypse, in the event of humanity giving up on itself to allow its bleakest futures to come to life.
You don't have to think too hard to see and feel the narrative fiber that runs through the shorts Silig and Saigon Kiss. Silig, part of the Director's Factory omnibus that opened this year's QCinema International Film Festival, follows Mamang, a woman battling a terminal illness, as she returns to her island home to reconnect with her former lover, Sabina. While Saigon Kiss, showcased in the QC Shorts International section, presents a meet-cute between two strangers, Vicky and Mo, in the vibrant heart of Ho Chi Minh City. In these two gems, the cinematic gaze is trained at romance and the journey towards it. While Silig grapples with a love rekindled in the face of death, Saigon Kiss celebrates the exhilarating potential of new beginnings. In Silig, an island in Zamboanga del Norte becomes the repository of Mamang and Sabina's bittersweet memories, while the bustling streets of Saigon, a city pulsating with life, offers Mo and Vicky the promise of endless possibilities. In Saigon Kiss, the romance unfolds in motion. We follow Mo and Vicky navigating Saigon's crowded highways, first separately, then together on a shared motorbike. Amid the city's chaos, their connection is unspoken yet undeniable. Among millions of motorcycles rushing through Vietnam's largest city, their chance encounter has sparked a new story, a new life, that adds warmth and vibrancy to Saigon's spirit. By contrast, Silig deals with finality. Mamang's return to her island home is not for new beginnings but for closure. Facing her last days, she seeks reconciliation with ex-lover Sabina, who's now a widow working at a funeral home. While Saigon Kiss radiates the bubbling energy of a romance yet to be defined, Silig is steeped in the weight of looming death. As Mamang limps and coughs her guts out, as she confesses her last sins, we feel the time slipping away. The cinematic gaze in both films is also drawn to the interplay between the characters' interiority and their surroundings. In Saigon Kiss, Mo and Vicky find refuge in each other amid the city's overwhelming cacophony. Meanwhile, the solitude of the island in Silig is shattered by Mamang and Sabina's inner turmoil. One can also say that it's the same quiet and peace that amplifies and magnifies the pair's internal struggles. A further parallel also emerges in the way distance shapes the characters' relationships. While Mo and Vicky share physical proximity in Saigon Kiss, a palpable distance separates them. A key moment highlights this when Mo admires Vicky from afar as she performs a contemporary dance with her friends, a quiet, detached moment of longing and admiration. In Silig, however, Mamang and Sabina overcome this distance during their final date at a theme park, the characters reveling in their touch and embrace. Speaking of closeness, a kiss would feel like an apt culmination for a film with a title like Saigon Kiss. But the film informs us early on that the title refers to an accidental motorbike burn, which is surprisingly a way more striking metaphor for Mo and Vicky's fleeting and fortuitous encounter. On the other hand, in Silig, the kiss acts as a decisive gesture, a powerful punctuation mark sealing Mamang and Sabina's love story. Ultimately, Silig and Saigon Kiss offer contrasting yet equally compelling explorations of human connection. Both films remind us that every encounter, whether fleeting or enduring, is a powerful force that leaves an indelible mark on our lives.
There's a certain gravity to how the nature of spectacle is approached by Sean Baker in Anora and John Torres in Room in a Crowd. Both films ask the viewer to contend with extremes, one built on external opulence, the other on internal isolation. Yet their contrasting approaches reveal not just the nature of their stories, but the worlds their creators inhabit. The first half of Anora parades through hedonistic lensing as Vanya, a Russian oligarch's son, keeps throwing money at Annie, a Brooklyn sex worker, in a desperate bid for transactional love. Vegas then becomes a playground for luxury in the first half, with Vanya spurging his fortune with nights of debauchery to Annie, though it's clear that all this splendor is hollow. Baker knows this, as halfway through, he shatters the fantasy through a 28-minute home invasion scene, trapping us in a claustrophobic single-location sequence where the glamour gives way to a grim reality. Anora herself begins to emerge, not as a passive recipient of wealth, but as someone grappling with the power dynamics that have defined her in her world. The tonal shift is striking but necessary. a sudden deflation of spectacle to expose its emptiness. Compare this to Room in a Crowd, where the spectacle comes not from opulence but from confinement. This film was half a decade in the making, piecing together fragments of stock footage, personal recordings, and even screen recordings of Zoom calls. This film was achieved without having to leave one's own home, born out of pandemic necessity and a father's fear of endangering his children. The result is intimate and diaristic, a quiet exploration of solitude that crescendos into a kaleidoscopic burst of color and sound. Ito Ledesma's electronic score infuses Torres' patchwork visuals to become a sensory overload, teetering towards a finale that feels both chaotic and deeply personal. It's the opposite of Baker's bombastic first half, a spectacle not bought but built, one that rewrites the rules of cinema through digital screens with its use of Google Sheets and car POV shots from his residency in Berlin. Where Baker traverses the bars of Brooklyn and flies his camera to Vegas, Torres constructs a global canvas without leaving his own home. Where Anora moves from indulgence to introspection, Room in a Crowd starts muted, then explodes into abstraction. Both films are shaped by the circumstances of their creators. Baker is now a filmmaker that wields his resources to craft an extravagant critique of privilege, while Torres turns his limitations into an asset, his gaze quieter but no less profound.
Balay and Peaceland revolves its themes around mother and daughter dynamics and questions the sense of home. Despite these two films are portrayed in contrasting energy, it's possible for one to imagine a combined cinematic universe that Peaceland is an after effect of what happened in Balay. With the similarities of colonial history of our countries, it erases but also cultivates a nation's multiplicity. What does it say about the filmmakers that represent a country of multiplicities?
Pero buyag, ngano si Shaina ang gicast for a role of a Bangsamoro woman. Ang Peaceland manggani ang tao na pasalay pa without deeply compromising the representation of the film's essence. Shout out to
This film is centered in the perspective of mid-aged Malaysian women living in a distant village that casually took the risk of hitchhiking on an illegal truck to reach the town. This tells us multiple things, two of which that I'll discuss.
Primero, ang mga pamaagi sa iraya usually jud pagpasakay ra jud na ang naisakyanan nya walay bayad. Walay bayad kay ngano kasagaran man gud ana ila-ila ra na sila. Silbinay
inherent in communal culture. But in the film we see that they are meant to pay for the ride and even have an increased rate. What Peaceland shows us is that, well, capitalism won again today.
Ikaduha,
The fact alone that these senior citizens
tuyuunan pa di ay mo adto og lungsod para lang makakuha og
basic necessities.
Pasabot dili ingon ana ka accessible sa ila aning mga butanga.
Later in the film, it reveals that these aunties aren't only in town to shop. One of them happens to be on a mission to take her daughter back home. Just like the Philippines, Christianity isn't the only religion in Malaysia. And just like the Philippines, colonization also played a role on furthering the divide through religion.
Si ang anak ni Manang Reyna, Islam man good. Si Manang Reyna, she practices Catholicism. Mao na kana si Inday, dili siya ganahan uli.
Now, if we contrast it with Ulay Balay, the characters that travel in the film is the daughter.
Pero sa biyahe niya, kinahanglan nga makaikyas sa gira.
The story of Ulay Balay is simple, but it is also the most heartbreaking reality of Philippine South. It is a story about being unable to go home. This black and white film establishes a promise to the grief of lost hope. It carries deep themes of disempowered womanhood that navigates a violence-driven, patriarchal world. More importantly, it is an undertold story of the Philippines. Whether the Manila-centric consciousness likes it or not, there are other narratives that happen in our archipelago that persists to exist and to be seen and heard.
Mauna nga nasapot ko nga nung mao ang ilang casting.
And it's not to discredit Shaina Magdaya's performance. This is a critic of the media practices in the Philippine cinema. Director's Factory is a planned child in means for transnational filmmaking. Walay Balay being presented in a worldwide stage is
Maayo. Maayo jud siya. ug dapat lang. These two films portray universal realities of rural narratives, provides nuanced depiction of womanhood and the denied yearning to feel at home. But colonialism isn't something that happened in the past. It is a truth that we continue to live to this day. Southeast Asia has been consistent target to displacement and broken homes. It raises the question, will the light stay bright when the mother isn't home?
Dalawang pelikula sa seleksyon ng QCinema Shorts International ang paghahambingin ko. Parehong ginagamit ng mga pelikulang to ang tubig bilang daluyan ng kwento at imahen. Ang water sports sa direksyon ni Wami Alcazaren at ang maikling pelikulang Wash ni Mikilay. Sa water sports, namumula-mula ang mga pisngi at kayumangging balat ni na Gelson at Ipe. In-game sila sa In Love in Lavan at susundan natin ang storya nila bilang mga kabataan, pag-asa ng bayan, sa panahon ng malalang krisis pangkalikasan. May kaklaseng karamay sa init, pabayang guro, at ang trahedyang nag-aabang sa magjowa. Puro lalaki kung tutuusin ang mga tauhan, at ang mga lalaking to ang lalamunin ng inang kalikasan. Sa Wash, wala naman tayong lalaking tauhan na makikita. Siyempre, dahil magaganap ang pelikula sa kalagitnaan ng gabi, sa isang kampo at nakasentro sa grupo ng mga babae. Mayroon daw silang kasamahan na sinapian, at ang salarin, ang dugo sa mga naitapong napkin sa palikuran. Umiinit din ang tensyon sa kanilang magkakaiba na relihiyon at etnisidad habang sinisiil ng nakatataas at masungit na komandera. Kapansin-pansin ang mga kulay. Sa bawat kuha at eksena, matingkad ang frames ng water sports. 3 banta ng paggunaw ng mundo ang makulay na hinahain sa atin. Maseryoso ang ganap sa Wash. Magsisimula sa dormitoryo ang eksena ng mga antuking babae. Sa lagim ng gabi, humihiram ng tingkad ang black and white na pelikula. Parehong mga buhay ang nakataya sa water sports at Wash. Mainam din namang pansinin ang nagsasakapangyarihan sa kabila ng mga panganib. Sa dulo lang babangon ng guro sa water sports. Isang salita, pabaya. Alalahanin natin na lalaki ang tauhan dito at sa kabila ng pagsasaya at pagsasanay sa malaimpyernong panahon, walang pakialam ang gurong to. Sobra-sobra naman sa higpit ang komandera sa Wash. Habang binibit-bit lahat ng main character ang pagkusot, patuloy ang daktak at pagbabanta ng komandera sa mga dalaga. Kung tutuusin, sanay na sa dugo ang mga babae mula pa ng kapanganakan nila. And yet, ito pa ang pinaniniwalaang imbitasyon sa mga masasamang espiritu na kailangan usisain pa ng komandera. Ang mga lalaki naman ay pinababayaan. Bawal umiyak, nakamamatay ang himig ng mga binata. Kahingian ang pagkatatag nila bilang mga lalaki sa hinaharap na dilubyo. Magkasalungat sa dalawang pelikula na to ang puwersang macho at ang enerhiyang pambabae. Ang live, laugh, love at pag-iibigan ng binata bilang pambabaeng puwersa na tingin nilang magliligtas sa kanila. Kabaliktaran ng machong tindig ng komandera sa kampo ng mga dalaga bilang panakot at pangaral. Paano ginagamit ang kapangyarihan? Hindi na ata natin maiiwasan ang umiinit na tensyon buhat ng pagkakaiba-iba at ang pag-init sa kabuuang temperatura ng mundo. Pero siguradong may magagawa naman tayo bilang manonood at bilang tao.